kin onion. It's essentially a chart where you're meant to put yourself in the center and characters you relate to or that inspire you in the other slots. The closer the character to you, the more you relate to them. Now, I'm not sure who came up with the concept of a kin onion, so if you know who to credit, let me know in the comments down below. But I wanted to do my own take on the base idea with some of the inspirations from my OCs. If you're curious about the story of the characters I'm about to get into, feel free to check out my Underworld Blues speed paints, where I give an elevator pitch. Now, without further ado, let's get into the kin onion for my main character, Thanatos. Beginning at the top and going clockwise, we start out with Asterion from Baldur's Gate 3. He's actually one of the weaker of my choices on this chart because I haven't played past Act 1 of BG3 yet. No spoilers, please. But from what I've gotten of him thus far, the bravado and act he constantly puts on is very Thanatos. They share that sort of drive and charm that isn't always warranted depending on the situation they're in, and they use it almost as a defense mechanism, a shield, so they don't have to think about themselves. Next up, we've got Catra from the 2018 She-Ra reboot. Okay, this one may seem like an odd choice given the other characters on this list, but bear with me on her. Thanatos is an individual who's deeply dependent on others' approval. Part of her original character concept from her very beginnings was she's physically unable to generate her own sense of self-worth. This reads very early season Catra to me, who's really after the approval of both Adora and Shadow Weaver, for better, or, usually, for worse. Now for someone completely different, we have James from Pokemon's Team Rocket. I don't have too much to say about this choice. It's the girl failure energy, you know? The truly pathetic nature they share. Very yes dear vibes. Up next, we've got Phoenix Wright, one of the two Ace Attorney characters on this outer ring. This one again isn't quite as strong a connection as some of the others, but Than and Nick are both desperately trying to reconnect with a childhood friend who's drastically changed and gone much colder towards them after a long time spent apart. I think that's enough reasoning to have them in this slot. And now Howl from Howl's Moving Castle. Like with James, we have the pathetic energy and sass at inopportune times. I also do see Thanatos being fairly vain, especially before she loses her memories, and since she needs others to approve of her, that can have manifested as extreme focus on public perception. Also, the princely gentleman flirt archetype we'll see a few more times in this chart fits Than to a T. Lapis Lazuli from Steven Universe is next. Say it with me, folks! Depression Queens! Also, toxic relationships and codependency issues, but getting too far into that will entail spoilers for Underworld Blues. Lapis and Thanatos are just that one handshake meme with "I've felt worse" in the middle. Oh my god, and I almost forgot, chains and water imagery. But that's also spoilers, so I shan't elaborate. The second of our Ace Attorney characters, we have Godot, the mysterious main prosecutor from the series' third mainline game. This pick, like Catra, honestly might deserve to go closer to the center. Well, I only had so many slots. Than and Godot have both clawed their way out of hell. They're both hard-boiled detectives, and they're both very much chasing ghosts of the past. I think specifically Godot's obsessive drive and laser focus on getting a certain someone back in any way he can applies to both Thanatos and Vermilion, but I decided Godot fit Thanatos a little better in the end. And finally, for this outer ring, we have Angus MacDonald, boy detective extraordinaire from the Adventure Zone Balance. I mean, the sass, the intellect, the sheer unadulterated nosiness. You know Ango McDango had to get the final outer spot. I bet Thanatos was insufferable as a child. I love her. I love them both. Okay, we finally arrived at the inner ring. These are characters who are major inspirations for Thanatos, or at least were major inspirations when I first created her. I'm gonna go counterclockwise for this ring, just to switch things up a bit. Starting off, we have Dazai from Bungo Stray Dogs. He and Thanatos are both highly intelligent when it comes to reading people. In fact, one of the most major mechanics in Underworld Blues is a little concept I like to call conversational combat. And they can both be pretty awful people who don't care who they hurt, provided they get what they need from their targets. They both mask with charisma and are now working for the side of good and of selflessness, as opposed to their pasts. They're both blue-coated, they both have strong connections to death and drowning, and they both can be really bad at genuinely comforting others. They're both also quite silly when they want to be. Bunny Ears lawyer vibes, if you're familiar with that trope. Finally, they're both quite terrible flirts, in both senses of the phrase. They could not get the ladies if they tried. Or the guys, in Than's case. And possibly in Dazai's case also. While I came up with Thanatos and Vermilion before I first watched BSD, I do see the pair's relationship as quite similar to Sakoku's vibes. Next up, Tamaki from Ouran High School Host Club. Oh, Tamaki, the princely type returns, and boy does it come back in style. Flamboyance, magnetism, and charm are key aspects of both Thanatos and Tamaki Suo. That being said, I'd like to highlight another aspect the two share, naivete. Now, Thanatos presents herself as pretty jaded most of the time, but she wasn't always like that. Growing up, she shared Tamaki's core belief that people are inherently good, and want to do as much. That burned her, but I don't think she's managed to shake the idea in present as much as she wants to. On another note, Thanatos and Tamaki are both highly creative. They always want to take third options, or go with the craziest plan possible, or set in motion a Rube Goldberg machine when a can and some string would do. Heads in the clouds, those two. After Tamaki is a bit more of an obscure pick, Johan from the Adventure Zone Balance. Like Lapis Lazuli, Johan is also a depression queen, but moreover, he's concerned with how he's perceived. Johan is scared of disappearing. Johan is scared that he'll never be remembered, and that no one will have ever really cared. Thanatos is afraid of these same things, but in a slightly different way. She wants others to notice her, and would consider invisibility akin to death. But she's also the sort that will resort to forcing invisibility upon herself as a form of self-harm if she's having a bad enough go of things. I think Thanatos and Johan are also both pessimists at heart, but relatively optimistic ones, if that makes sense. The sort that will prepare for the worst so that if the best ends up happening, they get to be pleasantly surprised. Also, they share connections to memory and water in terms of theming and imagery. And finally, quite possibly the biggest influence on Thanatos in terms of personality and speech patterns, we have Julian Dvorak from the Arcana. Yeah, the Arcana, I know, let me cook, okay? Julian is an enormous influence for Thanatos' character. When I was just starting to write dialogue for her and figure out Than's voice, I would literally use Julian as the template to build off of. He's where Than gets her pet names, her habits of calling folks dear and darling. He's also where she gets her special flavor of pathetic and flirtation. These two divas both crumple if shown the slightest hint of reciprocity, and I think that's hilarious. Julian, like Thanatos, is the type to make big decisions without consulting the others that those decisions affect, because his depression has convinced him it's the best way forward. It's insufferable, and it's a big thing the both of them have to learn to overcome, or at least deal with the consequences of. They're also both quite good at their jobs, though you might not expect it with all the buffer of charm and buffoonery they project. Also, they're absolutely both closet nerds. No way they don't get way too into info dumping about, like, leeches or some similarly weird junk. They're just cuties at heart. And with that, we have completed going through Thanatos' Kin Onion. I hope you guys enjoyed this ride as much as I did, and if you did, please tune in for the next installment in the series, where I'll go over Vermilion Wraith's edition of this chart. That being said, this is, by this point, a very long video by my standards, so I'll keep my outro short. Thank you all so much for watching. Comment any video ideas you might want to see from me in the future down below. Stay weird, stay wonderful, and stay wondering. SATS out.